Episode 8. The hammer and the anvil silence reigned in the resonance chamber, but it was a heavy, suffocating silence, vastly different from the quiescent peace of deep stone. Boren Stonehand, struggling to his feet with Kaelen's help, felt a profound wrongness emanating from the depths where Khazak-Ur lay. The rage was gone, yes, but replaced by a cold, hollow stillness that prickled his newfound divine senses with alarm. Runekeeper Thrain ran trembling fingers over the dark, spiderweb crack that now marred the central focus stone. The matrix is fractured, he rasped, his voice tight with worry. The energy flows, it wasn't clean. The ritual's effect may be unstable. Exhaustion warred with adrenaline, but Kaelen knew they had no time for speculation. The faint, distant clamor of battle filtering down from the upper levels was growing louder. "We move out. Now," he commanded, his voice firm despite his own fatigue. Captain Brock, his face a grim mask of duty, rallied his few remaining veterans, helping their wounded comrades rise. They turned their backs on the humming, damaged chamber and began the arduous climb back towards the besieged city. The ascent proved even more perilous than the descent. The tunnels, weakened by the earlier tremors and Khazak-Ur's final violent roar, groaned under the strain of the ongoing surface battle. Loose rock frequently rained down, forcing them to scramble for cover. After nearly an hour of climbing, Ilara, scouting ahead, returned with grim news. "The main access route we used is completely blocked. A massive cave-in looks recent." Kaelen consulted the ancient schematics with her, dust smudging the faded lines under the torchlight. Two options remained: a much longer, winding path through unstable, unexplored mining sectors, or attempting to blast through the blockage ahead. "The long route could take hours we don't have," Ilara stated quietly. Kaelen weighed the risks. Stealth was no longer paramount. Speed was life. "We blast," he decided, looking to Grok and the dwarven veterans. "Brock, can your men place charges to clear the path without bringing the whole section down?" Brock nodded curtly, already directing his remaining warriors, experts in mining and demolition, to assess the blockage and set precise, minimal charges. While the dwarves worked with swift, practiced efficiency, Boren leaned against the tunnel wall, closing his eyes, trying to reach out with his senses towards the silence below. He found it, a flicker of consciousness deep within the earth, cold and alien. The raw, chaotic rage of the Earth Warden was gone, replaced by a chillingly focused awareness, methodical and devoid of the inherent life of the stone. Malkor's shadow, it seemed, had not been banished but had perhaps consumed the fractured consciousness of Khazak-Ur, seizing control of its immense elemental power. "Kaelen, Thrain," Boren gasped, his voice strained. "It's not dormant. It's changed. The shadow, I think it won." Thrain's face grew paler, his hand going to the text tucked in his robe. The implications were horrifying. Boom! The carefully placed charges detonated with a contained roar, sending shockwaves through the tunnel. Dust billowed, but the path ahead was clear, though the tunnel behind them began to groan ominously. "Go! Go now!" Kaelen urged, pushing them forward through the settling dust. They scrambled over the debris, racing upwards through more familiar, though still damaged, levels. The sounds of battle were now unmistakable. The clash of steel, the guttural war cries of the Umbral, the defiant shouts of dwarven defenders. Wounded dwarves staggered past them, faces grim, confirming the fight had reached the city proper. They emerged from a service tunnel entrance, blinking in the smoky, chaotic light of Stonehold's main Gate Plaza, arriving like phantoms risen from the earth. The scene was desperate. The massive outer gates hung shattered, torn from their hinges. A tide of Umbral warriors, goblins, hobgoblins, and hulking brutes, led by a towering, shadow-wreathed hobgoblin commander wielding a cruel, jagged axe, poured through the breach, clashing fiercely against a dwindling line of dwarven defenders. Thane Borgrim himself stood near the shattered inner gatehouse, his ancestral axe reaping a heavy toll, roaring defiance, but clearly being pushed back. The strike team's sudden appearance from an unexpected quarter caused a momentary lull, a flicker of hope igniting in the eyes of the beleaguered defenders. There was no time for reunion or report. Kaelen took in the desperate tactical situation at a glance. The dwarves were caught between the Umbral pouring in, the hammer, and the risk of being encircled if the inner defenses fell, the Anvil. Brock, reinforce the Thane. Ilara, find high ground. Grok, with me. Lyra, Boren, support where you can, Kaelen yelled, drawing his sword. They plunged into the melee. Grok was a terrifying avalanche of muscle and steel, his great axe shattering shields and scattering foes. Ilara, finding purchase atop a partially collapsed watchtower, sent arrows raining down with lethal accuracy. Lyra, drawing on reserves she didn't know she possessed, unleashed focused blasts of arcane force, disrupting Umbral charges. Boren, though weakened, raised his hammer, and the faint golden light seemed to burn the Umbral creatures, bolstering the dwarves around him. Kaelen fought with the grim efficiency of a veteran commander, shoring up the defensive line, his sword a flickering extension of his will. Brock and his few remaining warriors fought like cornered lions reaching Borgrim's side. For a precious few moments, the Umbral tide faltered, the sheer ferocity of the counterattack staggering them. The Umbral commander, Gor'koth, snarled, his shadow-touched eyes blazing at the unexpected resistance. He raised his jagged axe, bellowing guttural commands. From the Umbral ranks behind him, larger, heavily armored figures surged forward, elite Umbral shock troops. Simultaneously, the stone floor of the plaza trembled, not with the chaotic rage of before, but with a slow, deliberate heave. Cracks snaked across the ancient flagstones, radiating outwards from the center of the plaza. Shadowy tendrils, colder and somehow more menacing than those they'd faced below, began to push upwards through the fissures, grasping like skeletal fingers. Boren cried out, stumbling back, his eyes wide with horror. It's here. It's awake. But it serves the shadow now. Kaelen stared, his heart sinking. They were trapped. In front, Gor'koth and his elite pressed their assault, the main gates breached and lost. Below, the corrupted power of Khazak-Ur, now seemingly guided by Malkor's insidious intelligence, began to unmake the very ground beneath their feet. Thane Borgrim roared, burying his axe in an Umbral brute, but his gaze flickered towards the cracking floor, a flicker of despair warring with his defiance. There seemed no way out. Caught between the hammer and the anvil, Kaelen tightened his grip on his sword, planting his feet, preparing to fight enemies from above and below. Video outro. Music swells with a sense of impending doom. Final shot is Kaelen looking from the charging Gor'koth towards the shadowy tendrils rising from the cracked plaza floor, his expression grimly determined. Caught between the invading Umbral horde and the corrupted Earth Warden rising from below, the defenders of Stonehold face their darkest hour. Can Kaelen and his companions find a way to survive the onslaught from two fronts? Is there any hope left for the besieged dwarven city? Teaser for Episode 9. Quick cuts. Thane Borgrim issuing a desperate command. Grok holding a collapsing archway. Ilara pointing towards a potential escape route on the schematics. Lyra attempting a risky spell involving the plaza stones. Boren confronting the rising shadow tendrils with Arian's light. Khazak-Ur's shadowy upper form begins to emerge from a chasm opening in the plaza. Gor'koth holding aloft a pulsating dark relic. Next time on Echoes of Eredor, desperate measures. Sacrifices must be made. Impossible choices confront our heroes, and the true power of the Shadow God's influence is unleashed within the heart of Stonehold. How can they possibly survive? Click to watch Episode 9 and subscribe to Echoes of Eredor.